Hi, I'm Josh, the dad of hobbies. Today's hobby is the wonderful, illustrious, magnificent, and incredibly talented team of William Daniels and Bonnie Bartlett. As I mentioned to them before we started, I am trying not to fangirl out. These two are some of the most iconic and incredible actors that we've had in the last 50 years. And it is my honor and privilege to introduce both of them and welcome them. So thank you both for being here and talking to me today. Uh,
Thank you.
I know both of your careers all the way back from your early work, and then, of course, William Daniels, your Boy Meets World, and Bonnie, you joined into Boy Meets World later in the show as well. Saint Elsewhere, where the two of you worked together. Kit, Knight Rider, Little House on the Prairie. You guys have had some of the most prolific careers in Hollywood over the last 70 years and more. I'm curious, what have you noticed in the biggest change in Hollywood over that time? Starting from when you first got into acting professionally to now, what has been the biggest shift in how Hollywood operates?
Well, we didn't come out here until 73. Before that, we were in New York. And Bill did 1776, among other things, and made movies too. The Graduate made a lot of movies. And but so in 73, it was a very open situation. In other words, Bill's agent could call me and say, Bonnie, go meet Michael Landon. He wants to meet some people and so forth. And it was that casual. In other words, I would go and meet Michael, and Michael would say, I think I got a part for you, things like that. That doesn't happen today. It's all you don't have in-person auditions. You have to make a tape. It's no fun because half of the fun was going in person, to and meet people and chat and see how well you did just as a person, as well as reading for them. Now it's very clinical. That's the word. Everything is very clinical now.
You both have different acting styles. Do you find that your approaches when you're in a scene together work together, or do you have to continue to modify how you're approaching a scene
It
based
just
on?
works. It just works. We've been together for so long. I think 74 years or something. I don't know, more than that. I met Bill when I was 18, and I am now 96. So you figure it out.
Almost 80 years.
Yeah. So we know each other so well, and no, we don't have to do anything. And then if you bring in another wonderful actor like Ed Flanders in St. Elsewhere, and you put the three of us together, it's really gold. It's really wonderful because he just comes in and we just all play together. Oh, it's great. That was great experience.
So, well, St. Elsewhere, not only was it a great experience for you, it sounds like, certainly as an audience to watch, but you won back-to-back Emmys on the
Yes.
same night as a married couple in 1986. What
Yes.
was that like? What was that? Did you know well in advance that it was coming, or was it a complete surprise? What was that experience like?
No, it was a surprise. As a matter of fact, we almost didn't get there. Oh no, that was the first time we almost didn't get there. No, it was. Hmm. I think that every year Bill would say, "No, so and so would get it," and name a popular actor. He always thought of himself more as a character than a leading man. So uh, he was surprised. Bill is not that excited about awards. He doesn't really believe in them. He said there's no such thing as the best. He said there's good work and better work and wonderful work and all of that. He said, but it's hard to compare them. So he's not a big fan of
That
it.
is such a Mr. Feeney thing to say.
Yes, it is. It is. And that's he's always been that way. He just thinks he's not that I am different. I think it's exciting. I think it's great, you know, to be recognized like that. Bill, he just doesn't feel that it's that important to him. It's interesting.
I see both sides. I see where
Yeah,
they're
I do too.
right. It's nice to be recognized, certainly, right?
Yeah.
And you two certainly deserve and have earned it. Um, any fun stories or anything that pops out from your time on the set there that maybe audiences haven't heard about or people haven't seen before?
Well, my favorite story is when Bill would get, because we do work differently. He he does it exactly as written, and I kind of like to loosen it up a little, but and so um, uh, I know one day on the set, I guess I hadn't done it or something and made it a little slow. He said, "Shall we all take a 30-minute break while Miss Bartlett learns her lines?" And I was not that upset because he was right in one way, but he is always on the side of the writer, always wanted to do what the writer wants unless it's really, really bad. But he won't take a job if he doesn't like the script because he doesn't believe that it's going to get better. Do you know what I mean? That was what happened with Boy Meets World, and of course it did get better. The writer did, but Bill always says, when they always say, "Well, we'll fix it out of town," he said, "Forget it. You won't fix it out of town. If you don't have a third act, you don't have a third act." And he was very tough about that.
Are there roles that either of you have turned down that you regret?
I have a lot. What have you turned down anything that you regretted?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. When we came out here, we were having a bad patch in our marriage, and he wanted to come to California and live in California and work and television and stuff. And so
You wanted to stay in New York.
yeah, I wanted to stay in New York, and I wanted the boys to be educated in New York and their schools and so forth. So anyway, he had been offered Chicago, that musical. He had been offered a play, an English play with Geraldine Page and Sandy, and he turned them all down. He turned them all down, but he doesn't regret it because he wanted to come out here. I regret not doing more stage work. I was offered some plays on stage that I didn't do. I regret that very much. I would like to have remained an actress that they would call on to do a part in New York. And I pulled myself out of that game, and I do regret that. But, I had these two kids, and it was just more important. More important. So that's what you do. So I don't regret it in a way, but I could have fit it in a little more. I could have.
Bonnie, I know that your father was a Shakespearean actor.
Yeah, well, he was an actor, yes, and he knew all the plays by heart.
How much of that influenced the way that you approach your acting and your talent?
Well, very much. I mean, my father did not believe in teaching acting. What he said is you learn by doing it. So he just said, whenever you want to, just act anywhere you can, and just I would do the Gettysburg Address down in the park, or I would do anything. He said that's the way you learn to be an actor. And I do believe that studying helps, but he didn't. He said, only get on the stage, do it. Get on the stage, do it. And we listened to all kinds of wonderful acting on the radio.
You mentioned 1776. I know that, Bill, you infamously turned down performing for Richard Nixon doing the show. I'm curious what went into that decision.
Because I didn't care for his Nixon's White House and Mr. Nixon in it. I was definitely against that.
But he finally succumbed.
I did, yeah.
because it meant an extra uh, money for all the other the rest of the people. They all got extra money for it, so that's why he did it.
And I believe that intentionally, when you joined Boy Meets World, the school was called John Adams after you specifically, right? It was meant as an homage.
Oh,
Michael Jacobs.
did he?
Yeah, he called it the John Adams School. Yeah, he was a big fan of Bill's and a big fan of John Adams.
You turned down Boy Meets World initially, from what I recall, right? It wasn't something you wanted to do as a sitcom.
Don't you remember he asked you, you went in and you said no because you wanted to make sure you loved teachers and you wanted to make sure they were treated well.
Mm-hmm.
I remember what you did.
Oh,
Yeah. You said, I can't do this because I don't want to be a stupid, funny. Mr. Feeney sounded like a funny person, and you didn't want to do that. You wanted a respectable, good teacher.
mm-hmm.
And then what did he say he based it on? The character.
Oh, about a teacher he had in high school, I think it was,
Mm-hmm.
who became his mentor. He admired him very much, and well, that was it.
And then he rewrote the script too for you.
Did he?
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he did something about Shakespeare, I think.
What is the most memorable episode for you?
It's when I dismissed them.
Yeah.
Well, I was playing a kind of a tough kind of teacher. When I dismissed the class, I was alone, and I found myself saying, "I love you all," and I was very moved by that and by them, and I don't think I expressed it very well to them. I wish I had. How important they were to me. Mm-hmm.
Can I hold this T-shirt up? We
Uh,
just had these made, and they're going to go like gangbusters because people love them. So we just had them made.
and we can find these on the Bill and Bonnie Daniels shop online. Yes.
Yes, they'll be up probably. Well, he's going to put them up for Christmas. They will be up soon.
Bonnie, you came on to Boy Meets World much later in the show.
Yeah.
But what was it like coming in to a well-established, very, very, if not critically popular, certainly audience popular show that he had been on for almost 5 years at that point?
Well, it was very comfortable because you see, I knew everybody. In other words, we would go after the shows. We would go out with Rusty and his wife, or we'd go out with, we knew them all socially. And I knew Michael socially. When he asked me to do it, I think he just wanted people to realize that Mr. Feeney wouldn't be lonesome, wouldn't be alone. And I was fine. And the only thing that was difficult, because the scripts were fine and everything, but I don't like to be at a show where they want you to get laughs I don't like that. But he didn't ask for that. No, it was fine. And Bill was happy to have me there. So that was fine.
I've got a question here about your relationship, right? You mentioned you've been together almost 80 years. This is a question that a friend of mine asks a lot of our couple friends that I wanted to ask you. What is the silliest argument you've ever had?
Mm-hmm.
Have we ever had a silly argument?
A silly argument?
No, they've been serious. I don't think
No.
so. The only thing it's not even silly, but he criticized my cooking. He didn't think I was a good cook. And so he was very critical. But that wasn't silly, that was hurtful. He hurt my feelings a lot of times in front of people. And so he just took over and he became the cook when we came out here. I just didn't have the knack, and he's great at it. My son is fabulous cook, fabulous cook.
Mhm.
I'm sure you're a better cook than you give yourself credit for.
See, I never cared because I don't like to cook, so I was perfectly happy for him to cook. And I, of course, obviously, I still prepared the meals and stuff, but he's a better cook, very careful, very good cook. And I don't care. I don't want to spend the time. I'd rather read or I'd rather pay the bills. I do all of that. I do all that.
What's the best thing he's ever cooked for you?
The best thing he ever cooked. He made a fabulous, what was that turkey dinner? It wasn't turkey. You cooked a goose or something? What was it? And it took him forever, and he had things all around it. It was a Thanksgiving meal, but it wasn't a turkey. It wasn't. It was like my son would be able to tell you exactly, and it was very carefully done, very fancy. It was he always presented things very well. They had to be presented very well. And yeah, that was at a Thanksgiving. His father was there, probably his last Thanksgiving. Anyway, it was nice. It was beautiful. A bird of some kind, and then he surrounded it with all kinds of stuffed. I don't know what you call them, but little stuffed things all around, and it was beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, I'm expecting when I come out that you guys are going to cook that for me now, right? Yeah.
He also made jam. He loved to make jam, so he made a peach jam that he called it the Queen of Jams, the Queen of Jams, and it was peaches and something else. And boy, they were good. We had those for years because he put them away. He liked all that stuff.
Mm.
He's very domestic. And I'm very business. I'm very business oriented, and he's very domestic.
That's a great balance, right?
Yes, it is. It works.
When did you first realize the other one was especially talented? When did you first see the talent in each other?
Yeah, well, I was a cocky kid who'd been on Broadway, and I was out at Northwestern where actually I was visiting my sisters who were in a play in Chicago, and I went to visit them. And one of them said, that school, Northwestern, is up a little further. So I went up there unannounced and met the guy who was in charge of bringing students into the school, and he wasn't very interested until I mentioned that I'd been on Broadway, and then he said, "Oh, well, they're taking an entrance exam over there. Would you go over there?" And I thought, "Oh my God, I've had very little schooling." But I went over and I was doing this exam, and I'm thinking, this could be yes, this could be no. And pretty soon, the teacher was standing over me. He said, "Are you through yet?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, I guess so," but I wasn't, but I gave it to him anyway. But I got into the school, and that's where I met you. And I went to a reading in the classroom for a play that they were going to do, and the director was saying, pointing, you read a little of it, and you read a little of that. And I listened to them read, and I thought, oh my God, I don't know if I want to be in this. Until I heard a voice in the back. And I looked up, and there's this blonde. who had a real voice. So I waited until it was over and we were leaving. I waited at the door, and when she came by, I said, how about a cup of coffee? She said, "You're too short." I said, "Come on, have a cup of coffee." Turned out she'd been following me because heard I was on Broadway. All the while I was not aware of. But anyway, we went out for a cup of coffee and we've been together ever since.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
So
I guess that's the silliest argument we've ever had. Okay.
that's the one.
That's the one. That's the silliest argument we've ever had.
What is the best advice you've ever given each other?
That has to be acting advice. You want acting advice?
Or life advice. It can be acting or life. You know, you've been together a long time.
Well, in the life, I am very anti-alcohol. So, and Bill was a good drinker. So if he had had a wife who was a good drinker, he wouldn't be alive today, because he would never, I constantly tried to stop that because I had so many alcoholics in my life and I didn't like them when they were drunk. And so that would be the biggest problem that we had, I think. And in acting, he said amazing things to me. He would come up and I'm doing Born Yesterday, and he'd come up and he'd see it run through and he'd say, "Where'd you get the funny voice?" And I knew. One time he came up to see me doing Streetcar Named Desire. And I said, "Billy, the director just told me I was completely off. I didn't have anything." He watched a dress rehearsal and he said, "It's all there. Just speak a little louder. It's all there." And I once went to see him in a play with Kirk Douglas, and he wasn't happy in the play, so from out of town. And he said, "What'd you think?" I said, "It looks like you wanted to get off the stage. It didn't look like you were happy there." So that he understood what that meant. And, that's all you have to say to somebody that you know well, or you might say to somebody, you have to get to the balcony, but don't play to the balcony.
You have both had such prolific and impactful careers. You've left legacies in characters and in shows and certainly a mark on Hollywood. What do you hope that people remember about you and the two of you, not just the work you've done?
Well, I think that one of the things that people are going to remember is this long, long marriage, and how I don't think anybody in the business, two actors, one marriage for so long. It's very unusual. I think that will be remembered as a very unusual thing. I don't think anybody's going to beat it. I really don't. Because people, it's perfectly natural to have 2 or 3 relationships in your life. That's perfectly normal, I think. We just didn't. We never gave up.
Do you have any advice for people to make it to 80 years together?
Lack of imagination.
No, yeah, ours is a lack of imagination. He would say that. That's Bill. That's Bill Daniels.
We never resented each other's work. We were happy with what they were achieving. We never felt like we were against each other for attention or whatever. I'm happy when she works and she's happy when I work. And that's the way it works.
Yeah.
Thank you both so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
Thank you for everything that you've done. Thank you for your work. It is a joy to watch both of you on screen and stage. And I hope that I make it to half of what you guys have done, both in career and in marriage. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Meeting Mr. Feeney and Dean Bolander is a dream come true. So thank you both.
Thank you.